Good morning, Lois.
Hi, Adrienne. How are you today?
I am great. And how are you?
I'm excellent. I'm excited for our conversation today.
I know today's going to be a little bit heavy, but we're just going to see what happens. So, today we're talking about what happens when you find yourself at an inflection point in your life, whether you're calling it a midlife pivot or inflection point or transformation or recalibration. There comes a time, or you might even feel like it's a midlife crisis. For me, I found the visioning process and you right before mine, and it almost helped me have something to hold on to throughout the whole process. So the short story is that I got divorced. I moved across the country. I left a job that I had had for years. It took me a little while to kind of accept that my life had was going to change very starkly, but also that I wanted that and I knew that that was the right thing for me, but I knew it was going to be incredibly hard. So talk to me a little bit about how a vision can help someone who feels like they are on the cusp of this kind of midlife change inside.
One of the most forgiving things about the visioning process is that you don't have to know all the answers before you start. So sometimes people are held back from going through a process like this because they feel like, well, wait, shouldn't I get my ducks in a row and shouldn't I kind of do all and figure this out before I start to go through this process? And that's kind of like knowing you have a dentist appointment and being like, oh, I should really do a deep clean before I go. I mean, like, yes, brush your teeth, but like the point is that they're going to do that when you're there. So the point of the visioning process is that there isn't, people always ask, is there pre-work? Should I read a book? Should I do a thing? And I love that they're so excited about it, but there isn't all the work. There's a container for all the work, and that container is the process itself. And so what I mean by you don't have to know the answers when you begin, when you know you're on the cusp of this inflection point, that can be exciting, it can be scary, it can be overwhelming, it can be all these different things at once. And knowing that the process is just going to naturally take you through to its conclusion of really having your vision written out in black and white and the roadmap to get there gives you this confidence to kind of be able to let go and say, I don't need to know off the top of my head how long I want this vision to be. I don't need to know what the answer is to this big question that I have. I don't need to know what my decision is going to be about XYZ. The whole point is that I'm going to really be able to gain clarity on that through the process.
No one really wants to go through a divorce or have to move across the country or change their life completely or change their career as they know it, anticipating what you have to do to get through that inflection point and get through it as if you're getting to some kind of other side, I think is the part that's really stressful for a lot of people. It's this not knowing and that kind of thing. So talk to me a little bit about the part about necessitating action. When you do have this clarity around your vision and you all of a sudden know, yeah, this isn't the right thing and I do want something else, all of a sudden you have to go make that happen or stick with the status quo and know that you're not living up to your potential.
So there's a few different aspects to that. One is that when you clarify your vision, let's say it's a 3-year vision, and you really, really, through the process, like you said, you've been honest with yourself, you can't pretend. You know that you're going to have to make this hard decision. I also remind people that it doesn't mean that you have to make this decision on day one. This is a 3-year vision. So you might need to do some things in the first few months or the first year to kind of lay the foundation to then be able to take that next step. And so that gives people a little bit of a sense of releasing the pressure gauge. But once we release the pressure gauge, then they end up acting fast anyway, because then it goes from something that they have to do and something they need to do or must do to something that it's kind of like you've given them the pass to say, hey, you've got time. You don't have to make all of your vision a reality in the first day after you finalized it. And then typically they find that they really want to. As much as that action can feel scary and feel like there's resistance to it, the clarity of the vision, the power of what they know that future state is going to look like for themselves. And now they've been able to really see it and feel it, smell it, taste it, touch it, but not in some kind of like woo woo, let me just manifest my dream life way, but in a way like, I really know my non-negotiables. I really know what's going to go in to the future that I want to create for myself. Once you have clarity on that, then you create this sort of internal momentum to go ahead and live that vision into existence, to make it a reality. And the other piece is that the vision process is always ongoing. Like, you clarify your vision, you create the roadmap to get there, and then you've got to always recalibrate along the way. And so the other piece that I think is helpful for people is remembering that it's not a one and done. Oh, you got your vision, you got your roadmap, see you, that's it. It's really, okay, now I'm living it. Now I'm taking these steps. I really need to like recalibrate my compass a little bit, or I really need help getting over this obstacle or this detour that I wasn't expecting. So just knowing that there's that ongoing piece that's so critical, that visioning is something that once you have that vision in place, that's just really the beginning. That's not the end. So there's that piece to it. I think the other piece is that oftentimes, you know, we've talked about the equation for change in the past, and the idea that oftentimes we don't make that change, we don't take that action unless there's enough dissatisfaction to tip the scales in favor of actually making that change. And one of the things that naturally happens in the visioning process is you really, really get a true lens on that dissatisfaction. If we think of that dissatisfaction as the gap between where you are and where you want to be, if you haven't had a chance to take a step back and really, really take stock of where you are and really, really clarify where you want to be, there's no way to gauge the distance between those things. So oftentimes people going through this process recognize that there's actually more dissatisfaction than they realize. And that is kind of what they needed to tip the scales. And so they knew they kind of needed something to help them tip that, and just going through their day-to-day and kind of going on autopilot, just accepting things as they come, taking each day as they come, wasn't enough. They knew that wasn't going to be enough. It wasn't going to just happen on its own.